Welcome to a new video. So this video is not like my other ones where I'm just vlogging during the week and showing you what type of work I do during the week. This video is a unboxing and let's try out this new art material that I got for my birthday, and that's PanPastels. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They are soft pastels, but they come in a pan, and they're fun. Spoiler alert, they're fun materials. They are quite expensive. Each pan was like around €8 something, and they were on sale on Jackson's art supply store from England. That's where I got them from. And so yeah, so in this video you will be watching me unbox them and then draw with them, paint with them, create a little illustration with them. I wasn't very familiar, and I'm still not very familiar with this art supply. And so yeah, so I just wanted to show you guys the unprofessional approach to PanPastels. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll talk to you later. So I got some PanPastels, an ink, and some soft tools. Oh, and I also got 2 sketchbooks. So let's see what's in this box. This is the red Sanguine ink from Senelier. These are the tools. Here are 2. Whoa, no! Here are 2 of the PanPastels. This one is Payne's Gray, and this one is the Burnt Sienna Tint. This one is Chrome Oxidized Green Tint. The Hansa Yellow Tint, and the turquoise. And permanent red. This is the red oxide, red iron oxide, and the raw umber shade. And the 2 Royal Talon sketchbooks. That's what I got.
So, Daisy.
All right, welcome to voiceover, Christine. I thought that I would show you guys what the new Senelier Sanguine Ink looks like. I had already purchased several of these inks. I love using them. I had the indigo and the neutral tint, which is a purple color. I have the Senegal yellow and an orange. And I really wanted a deep red color, especially with fall approaching, Inktober. I'm going to be doing a ink workshop. So I wanted to have this tonal range within my inks because I have some vibrant reds already. I have vermilion, I have carmine. And so I really wanted this deep, burnt, sanguine blood color red. I absolutely loved what it looked like on my screen when I was going through the different inks for my Jackson's birthday order. And already when I put it down on this plate, I was in love with the color. So I decided to grab my other inks and just play around with them, see how they interact. I also like to mix them together to create other tones. Like I do not have a green. I just use the indigo and the orange or the yellow to create a green. And it comes out beautifully. If I use the Ecoline yellow with the indigo, it also creates a beautiful green. And I also like mixing different inks together. Well, and the Ecoline liquid is a watercolor, really, technically, is what they're calling it, even though I use it like an ink. So I was grabbing all of the different inks and separating them into their different little compartments so that then I could use the bigger area to mix them or water them down or add different paint, different inks to them. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I just wanted something easy to sketch out. And so, of course, I pulled up Pinterest. And after searching, sometimes I could spend like a whole hour on Pinterest just searching for a reference picture. I get sidetracked and I find different reference pictures that I will be using in the future or something for my friends' collection that I've been creating. But I finally found a little squirrel and I thought it would be just perfect to try out these colors because I thought they worked wonderfully for a squirrel. But first here I wanted to create swatches of the different colors just to see how they look on the page. I am using my Royal Talons A4 Plus sketchbook. They work okay with the inks. However, if you overly saturate the page with water, you will start getting this like crumply, fiberful texture, which I don't necessarily like. I love using inks on my Arches watercolor paper or on the Canson, I forget what it's called. It's a Canson watercolor paper, Mon something, Monval. I'll have to look it up again. But it's the watercolor paper that I use to create my own sketchbook with. It's wonderful paper. I really like it. I also like using the Stillman and Burn Alpha Series sketchbook. However, it's probably because it's so white that I don't enjoy using that sketchbook at all. I feel very blocked when I use that sketchbook, really. But yeah, so back to the swatching. Here I was just playing around with the colors, grabbing some of the sanguine and painting over the indigo, as you can see below there, or the neutral tint, and just mixing it in. Because of the shellac, you can create these nice, what do they call, like nice like lines that they kind of stay as they are within the wet on wet. Usually it would just like mix together or really spread out, but because of the shellac in this ink, it remains in the shape because it's more of like a syrupy type of texture. So I always find that really cool. You can create some really cool effects. And also with the wet on wet with this ink, when it does start to bloom out, it doesn't bloom out like other inks and watercolors do. Instead, it blooms out and it leaves roots. It creates these little thin hair-like or root-like borders, which I think looks so cool, especially with creating dragons. Lately, I've been drawing a lot of dragons. One, for my workshop, because we are going to be focusing on dragons and creating dragons with ink. And 2, because of Inktober. And 3, because of Franz. I have been drawing dragons lately whenever I draw Franz, and I just love creating this root-like effect with the inks. So since these are inks, I do lay down the lightest color first. Sometimes you can either just put in the splotches of lighter color, or you can do the whole thing a light color and then just layer on top the different inks. Of course, since inks are not opaque, they are translucent, you will see the underlayers affect the next layers that you put on top. Now, depending on what you are looking for, this can create a beautiful, complex texture color range and depth to your illustration and painting. I do really enjoy using this technique of layering different colors on top of each other, especially for my beetles, which I will show you in the little corner right here. It just is a very fun way to create a combination that is not, I don't know quite how to put it. It creates a different look instead of just like mixing colors together. And so I would really recommend it. So as you can see here, I've created a base color of yellow. I looked at the fur of the squirrel and I could see that there was a lot of lightness to it. There were light hairs, the sun was shining on it. So I thought, perfect, yellow base. Now I'm mixing a bit of the orange and the sanguine to create this nice brown color. And yeah, so I'm going to speed this up and you can see how these inks look like. So after playing around with my inks, I decided it was time to pull out the PanPastels and give it a go. I'm not a pastel artist. I have some soft pastels that I like to play around with. However, I haven't really taken the time to fully create a full piece of just soft pastels. I've added it with mixed media type of things to create backgrounds or to create highlights. But I thought with the PanPastels, I would be able to create some really nice textures and backgrounds. So here I'm just drawing over pages in my sketchbook that I didn't really like and I thought would look kind of cool if I played around with them. The nice things with these PanPastels is that you can either use them dry or wet. And if you use water with them, it creates a very painterly, very thick type of paste. And then you don't have to use fixative. So I had drawn this like druid wizard preacher guy, too short. It didn't come out right. And I had used inks for the background. This was when I had just gotten the Senelier inks, and so I wanted to play around with them. And because I used too much ink and too much water, I got that, grummy, fiberful type texture that I didn't really like. And so I was just thinking, hey, perfect page to just play around and see how well these PanPastels can cover. So as you can see, I was using the bigger sponges. This is from the set that I got of the soft tools. And I just wanted to see what they look like on their own, how they differ with the different sponges, and what they look like if I were to wet them with water. What I did discover is that using a mildly wet brush, it creates the most beautiful dry brush texture ever. I mean, it just blew me out of the park. And this permanent red here that you see on the owl, oh, so vibrant. I'm so drawn to this red color. I absolutely love it. And I was using the same dirty sponge. I'm not very careful with my supplies. It really depends on what type. And I knew that these could easily be like wiped off and cleaned. And I didn't really want to get up and go clean my sponge. And I also wanted to see what would happen if I were to layer them on top of each other. How easily do they blend? How well do they just like stay on the page? How much blends? So it was a fun little quick exercise. I didn't really have that much time to play around with them, but I just kind of want to fill the sketchbook. And this is where I had my accident. I accidentally dropped one of the pan pastels, and I actually think it's the same pan pastel, the same color that Sarah Dyer dropped or received all broken when she ordered pan pastels. It's this it's a tint color. It is the burnt sienna tint, I believe. Yeah, and so my husband was very sweet and was picking up the pan pastel powder that had fallen on our ground. I was so sad when it fell on the ground. It's like, I just got these. I haven't even tried out this color, and now I destroyed it. The good thing is that in Sarah Dyer's Patreon, she does talk when she does a video on pan pastels on how to fix it. So there's a little tip. So it's the evening, and I came down to my studio to play around with the pan pastels that I got for my birthday. I tried it on regular paper, and I did like the texture that I got. I really liked the texture that I got on just like my Royal Town sketchbook. However, I got this pastel mat, which is sanded paper, which I had watched several videos on, and it's like the best paper to use pastels on. And so I drew a bear climbing up a cliff, and I was just gonna play around and see what happens. Maybe it'll be disastrous, but hey, you don't learn how to use your materials if you don't just play around with them and go for it. So even though I'm kind of scared because this paper is not cheap and the pan pastels aren't cheap, but still, I need to try it out. The only thing that I did in order to prepare myself to create an illustration was watch a pan pastel step-by-step tutorial, which I will put a link down in the description. And I saw how he was laying down color and which soft tools he was using. But it was a very detailed video, and he created a very realistic and beautiful pastel drawing of a monkey, I believe it was. I can't remember. He's a very talented artist. You should check out his videos if you're interested in learning how to use pan pastels in a professional manner. But me being impatient and just wanting to try things out, thought, I'm going to ignore this fear of using these expensive materials and this expensive sanded paper, and I'm just going to go for it. So I grabbed my Pitt matte black pencil, the 14B pencil that I have. I drew a quick sketch of a bear on a cliff looking up at a bird. And I went from there. I decided to put the darker areas down first, thinking that maybe that way would be better, or like mid-tone, not completely dark, but more of a mid-tone. And I was mainly using a sponge and then using my fingers to kind of like dilute or spread the pigment a bit further. Now for the more detailed areas, I was using the tip of the sponge, or I grabbed the soft tools, the one with the blue handle, to create some of the more details. However, I noticed that I'm probably not using it correctly because it started to tear. I then took it off of the handle holder thing, and I was just using it with my hand, and I was able to tap it and press in a different way. I don't know. I think I have to learn a bit more how to use these soft tools properly. I really, really loved using these PanPastels. I loved the vibrant colors, how well they lay down, how well you can layer on them. And then I was also using, I only used the Jackson's soft pastels. And I also used Faber-Castell pastel pencils. That's everything that I used. It's looking so far. I've been working on it for like, I have no idea, like 20 minutes maybe. And I've been using my PanPastels and my Jackson pastels and the soft brushes or soft tools. And this is what it looked like an hour or so after using all my pastel materials. One thing I do need to say is do not use fixative if you are using the pastel mat or pastel board. It's sanded paper and it does not need fixative. If you do, it will really darken your colors. So that's it. That's what it looks like. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed this unboxing and review of, not really review, unboxing and trying out of PanPastels. So I'm going to be posting now a preview of what you will be watching next week. Bye guys. Yeah, so this is my book and this is the sketchbook that I make. We would create our little creatures, a more in-depth sketch, both colors.